I've been bout my papyrus since I've been in it. Put me in the debate, you know I'm gon' win it. If I scream black power, don't get timid. If I say black city, I'm talking about Kemet. If I say black city, I'm talking about Kemet. Primary research and we done pushed it to the limits. All you dudes finished. The king counting cattle up with brother Reggie. When I'm in Oakland, smoke spoken, bro, they love the Chevy. Back in the day, it was the spokes on the chariot. Long procession when the king got carried out to every spot. Woman looking nice as ISIS. I read ancient texts, so my advice is priceless. Nubian gold, your ice don't entice us. Beating me harder than counting grains in your spices. Your heart was beating, but your brain dead, you're lifeless. Yo, they ain't nothing like us, yo. Don't try to make me mad. Make me smile and say you love me, man. That's real right there. Yeah, come on. You should listen to your main man's advice. Do a YouTube, apologize like Dice. Or the back fade coming like the Antichrist. Egyptologists sent me reading and said that I'm nice. I got a speller with your name on it. I'm like Sargon. You the type of dude wake up in your car gone. Told, cause of the money you owe. Before you stream, you should clean up that humble abode. Like I'm not in city for my woman in gold. I keep the pseudos running, people coming in droves. You catch me on a live stream with Pan-African James. When we building, call us by our African names. I'm for the children. And ain't nothing happen to change. We on that black hype, so we still packing them things. It's for protection. Got connection. My complexion, pure black, that's the S. Make me smile. You love me? Show me some love. All right.
Yo, what up? Don't say what's up when you come through so we can get it popping right. You know what I mean? Play another tune or two. Another tune and we're gonna get right into it. I ain't heard that in hella long. Let's listen to this.
When it was Kemet, Black Egypt, it was a Nile Valley civilization. Black Egypt. It wasn't no Mediterranean culture. Like and subscribe. You gon' get tormented for 4 minutes if it's war when it just said Jessaru got a false door in it. The Nubian flow, that's before Kemet. My Kim T got rubies and gold, and it's fit for a Kushite king. But what it look like, the green Sahara ring bearer bring terror to your satellite kingdom, so they do not bother me. Scarification look like wavy line pottery. Kush with the black top pots, a rap top notch, and I could kick you till your laptop stops. I'm like Tahak and Shabaka, or Pianti, the author's a father. Any cocky, I came down the Nile through the lands of Kush, living a pre-dynastic Pharaoh way and Marrow way. Kerma, Khartoum, or Simna by the 5th cataract. Now I put the 5th wheel on the Cadillac. So much ride, a white man couldn't battle that though. They had to paddle back. Black Egypt. Black Egypt. Black Egypt. Gotta look and see where the Nile started. Black Egypt. And how it was easier to go downstream than upstream. And which way the river flowed. Don't look at the color, look at the culture. Black Egypt. What you know about Dynasty 00? Roll through with Shimsu, Heru on the standard. Ta-Nehisi, Sudanese G's. Try to test me, I'm an archer from Taseti. The squad ready, so I'm stepping in with the extra thin leopard skin. A tail on the apron with my crown on. You can crack jokes, but I ain't the one to clown on. Hey yo, Egypt was black, and that's a fact. All you little suckers need to step on back. They tried to throw us off, but we kept on track and started doing research, but you slept on that. And with Kemet, it don't matter what the name means. If it's a black culture, then that's the same thing. Race science is a lame thing. Ever since Nubian times, I let the chain swing. How the first known in Egypt was Taseti, but Taseti was Taseti already. Yep, it meant the land of the bow, and when Egyptians needed archers, this is where they would go to recruit them. I got arrows and I shoot them. Who them fake pharaohs? I uproot them and use Black Egypt. Black Egypt. Black Egypt. Black Egypt. Black Egypt.
Alright, go old school one time.
Black Egypt. Black Angel. Black
That was
Angel.
fun to hear though. What's up? How y'all doing? Let me see. Get this channel right. So we can go. I was just looking at this and listening to. What's up, Yerg? What's up, RTP? When y'all roll through, go and say something in the chat so we could get some activity on the show. So they might could send out some notifications. So Trump dropped the tariffs, huh? So he started the problem, then fake fix it, and we're going to give him credit for fixing the economy.
Dramatic White House announcements adding rocket fuel to the markets today and boosting hopes for Americans' bottom line going forward. Take a look at the Dow right now, up more.
See how they acting? Look, get happy, y'all. He fixed his mistakes.
Than 940 points. It was up more than 1,000 at different points today, fueled by news that the U.S. and China are each slashing tariff rates while they negotiate a broader trade deal.
So all I'm looking at is that 90 days. Now let me tell y'all. Y'all already know. I told y'all the other day, I was like, I'll start talking to a company in Canada that could help me out. So I was like, maybe I could get my shipment sent to Canada. But just on GP, I called my manufacturer and it was like I was like in a casino. And I had to hedge a bet. I was like, go on and start manufacturing. Because if it's going to take y'all 45 days to manufacture or whatever, I didn't know nothing about this 90-day trade deal. I'm like, if it's going to take y'all 45 days to manufacture, then I'm going to be cool. Because Trump ain't even got a 45-day hand. I ain't trying to mess nothing up and talk and then he go back and take this back. But that's just how I feel to me. Trump didn't have 45 days worth of bluff in him. So I was like, going to do that. And hopefully that turned out to be right. Let's see.
The president said this morning that weekend talks were positive and bode well for the future.
The talks in Geneva were very friendly. The relationship is very good. We're not looking to hurt China. China was being hurt very badly. They were closing up factories. They were having a lot of unrest.
That's propaganda. That's just propaganda. I mean, you know, people were going to show you empty factories from COVID. They go get videos of COVID with empty factories, and then they make sure they got some U.S. propaganda going on and how you thinking something else.
And they were very happy to be able to do something with us.
We should note that event was not about China. It was actually held for the president to sign an executive order to rein in the cost of prescription drugs, which tend to be 2 to 3 times higher on average than in other developed nations. That plan is actually not new. The president introduced it during his first term.
Anyway, I'm not about to watch that all. I'm just peeping game how you make a problem, fake like you fixed it, and then people get happy. What's up, Kim Simpson? So we're going to see what's up with this tariff deal. Hopefully we get 90 days where we ain't got to trip off that. And that's going to be what that's going to be. Who else in the building? Say something in the chat so we can get it going. It's already going, though. I'm just saying, you know. Make sure y'all say what's up when y'all come through. Hey, so look. I was thinking about, I've been watching lately, I'll be watching the little, every YouTube I'll be watching, but I was about to call it the TikToks. But the YouTube where they like, basically talking about all the, it's like the soap opera of the young rappers who killing each other. Right? What's up with Kemet? It's like the soap opera of the young rappers who killing each other. The whole self-snitching society. When you finish with this, can you go to Trump signing an order for the white South African refugees, white people in our community tell us don't stay black? I don't even know nothing about that. But maybe when I open up the chat or something, I can. It's Trump signing an order for white South African refugees while people in our community tell us don't stay black. It's crazy. Trump signed the order for South African refugees.
But failed to follow federal requirements.
I'm trying to see how that got to do with it. Let me see. Let me see.
We are now hearing that the first tranche of white Afrikaners will be arriving in Washington, D.C. at Dulles International Airport to be welcomed by State Department officials and Homeland Security officials, where we are told there will be a press conference to announce, the first success, if you will, of the since the initiation of this process. But understand, if we build on what Nick Harper has just been saying, the refugee admissions program in the United States has been suspended since January 20th. One of the first executive orders that Donald Trump signed here, even before the one titled the egregious actions against the Republic of South Africa, in terms of the egregious actions by the Republic of South Africa, which essentially mooted this refugee program for the first time. So they've moved here at a very, very rapid clip. We'll get the first tranche as early as Monday. Early next week. And it really does raise questions about why Donald Trump has, in the broader context of shutting down the refugee program in the United States, has sought to prioritize the transmission of white Afrikaners from South Africa to the United States based on the issues around South Africa's Land Expropriation Act. What we have also now heard is a very strong statement from the Department of International Relations. I think we have a clip from Crispin Peary, the spokesperson. Let's listen to what the South Africans are saying in reaction to these reports that the first Afrikaners will be arriving in the United States soon.
The Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation confirms that Deputy Minister Alvin Boetis held a discussion with the United States Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Lando on the 9th of May 2025. The discussion follows engagements via the diplomatic channel where South Africa expressed concerns with the information conveyed that the United States has commenced with processing alleged refugees from South Africa and will begin resettling these citizens of South Africa in the United States. South Africa reiterates that the allegations of discrimination are unfounded. The South African Police Service's statistics on farm-related crimes do not support allegations of...
So basically, Elon then went into the government, worked out a deal for 49 families, because 49 families ain't helping nothing. Come on, bro. You got to see the whole thing. I'm just saying.
Violent
it could be worse or something else, but this looked hella crazy.
Crime targeted at farmers generally, while South Africa challenges the United States assessment of alleged refugee status, it will not block South Africans who seek to depart the country from doing so, as it also observes the right of freedom of movement and freedom of choice, specifically the right to leave the country as contained in Section 21, subsection 2 of the country's constitution. Nonetheless, the Department of International Relations has sought clarity on the following matters: the status of the persons who will be seeking to depart the country, whether as asylum seekers or refugees or ordinary citizens. And we've sought assurances as to whether the persons who have been identified have been appropriately vetted by competent South African authorities to ensure that they do not have any outstanding criminal cases pending against them, amongst others.
Our engagement with the State Department seeking clarity.
That's crazy. So what they're trying to do? So Trump and all his moving people around madness, like he just about, I mean, golly. What about his deportation? I ain't about to just go off on a tangent. I just was gonna be on the tariffs. But what about his deportation plans? And all that nonsense talk. You feel me? Like he been talking about he gonna try to figure out ways to deport homegrowns while he's importing white South Africans. Man, that whole stuff is crazy. I'll talk about that on a whole nother show. You know what I'm saying? You know what I was thinking about? It came to me not like no epiphany or nothing, but I was like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. On a deeper, think about it. About the self-snitching thing. And I was like, oh, it really ain't a thing now that I think about it. A few things came to my mind. Do y'all remember like a few years ago when the first real life Grand Theft Auto crimes had started being committed in real life? Like that first time when you turned on the news and was like, damn, he went ham, like he on some grand theft. You're gonna probably take it all the way back to that one robbery when they was in LA in the 90s. But they didn't go all the way grand theft. That was just a robbery. And then they just tried to get out. They was trying to rob that bank and they was doing all that. I'm talking about like, but that was too. But when these youngsters started basically on video committing crimes publicly. First, it was these gangsters like from New York. Not first, but it was like these two Puerto Ricans from New York that was gangster, and they was doing all their crimes on video and posting them and got caught. Right? And so we in a certain mentality. Then it grew. I ain't gonna go on. I ain't gonna rush it. I ain't gonna rush it. Then it grew a little bit, and you start seeing this more and more. Now we in the days where we got a title or something called self-snitching, where we just call it that, and that's what it is. And I be wondering, and like we all wonder, what'll make somebody get there. Then I started saying, okay, I'm about to analyze that a little bit. And I started figuring it out. It ain't complicated. I'm not about to say nothing that you don't already know, probably. But one part about it, I do want to investigate, and we could do this live. How many of these so-called rappers, you could just like do something nefarious and make a rhyme, a limerick, and a rap about it, and they'll call you a rapper. All beats is knocking nowadays. AI can make knocking beats. So anybody could get on a knocking beat. You don't even have to have no bars or nothing no more, but we'll talk about that too. That's all part of it too, but we'll talk about that when it's time. They gonna do something nefarious. So look, check this out. This is what I wanna just say in first thing. First of all, it really got something to do with life expectancy. How long, let me not rush into that. It got something, so you remember being like 25 and some voice, something had told you that, maybe you was 20, and something that told you you wasn't going to live past 25. I don't know what path you was on, whatever path, it don't matter. They try to get that voice or that saying in your head at a young age. I'm not talking about a collective experience. I'm talking to each of you individually. And when you were younger, did you ever have some life expectancy stuff going on with about the age 25? When you was like, thinking 25 was going to be it or something. Well, whether you have not or not, I've heard slang terms in the hood where people be like, some you ain't gonna live to 25, you're gonna be dead or in jail or some of that stuff. Well, some of the negative effect of that has set in on the younger generation. And it seems like they really, 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 first and foremost, believe that's true. Right? So start saying, what if you really do believe that? If you really, and then you're going to start looking at this. And then it's just like they got you in this fish tank. They got you under this belief and they tell you, okay, they don't tell you it. It's a system out where you can get notoriety for your bad behaviors. And you 21, 22, think you're going to die at 25. You did say that, James. You're right. I was doing that too. Oh, I'm sorry. This is what I left out that I was going to say earlier, and I'm glad I remembered it. And I said we could all do this together. We could probably do it right now. How many of the young rappers, so-called rappers, that are living this self-snitching murder life have their fathers in their lives? Let's do it. Like all the rappers who just got killed, I could just name them out, and I don't know nothing about them. I'm not in that culture as I name these people to ask y'all, do you know if they had their father in their life? Like the main one who's, when you watch all the TikTok stories about this gangsterisms, is they do a lot of stuff about King Von. Does anybody know if he had his father in his life or how his father was in his life? Was his father a gangster role model who led him along those lines? Was he from a broken home? Was he from a single parent home? Was he raised only by a sister? How does this work? And are there any patterns amongst these young dudes who live in these lives? That was that side note that I remembered to, and I wanted to interject. But if we take what we're talking about, like, first that you get convinced that you ain't gonna live hella long. Second, you living in poverty. You know what I'm saying? Probably living in poverty, or you ain't got all the things that you see people with. Third, you might not have no man in your house, which means a lot if you're a young man. To where they probably thinking, to where self-snitching is not a thing to them. You gonna go to jail or you gonna die. So at least you could get famous before you go to jail or die. And get some millions, which you see them all carrying on their shoulder and shit. Don't act like I'm buying into that silly logic. I'm simply understanding why this phenomenon could actually occur on Earth when we still think we got some conscious brothers, we got some regular straight up people, then we got some people who just willing to do heinous ass crimes on TV and take credit for it. So here's the thing. If you wasn't in America and you committed a atrocity against America, you get on video and you show your face like you a gangster, like you whatever, right? They call them terrorists, whatever. Even now, let's be clear. Some nations bomb other nations secretly, but some nations get on TV and say we did that, right? Yes or no? So that's a good question asked by Side 12. He said, suppose we did that research. I'm just adding to your statement. He said, suppose we did that research and we found out that they all didn't have fathers in the house. What's the solution? The solution would first be to talk about that and see that now we've established that that might be a key factor in how they're wilding out. And then seeing what can be done to address that for the future young men who's 7 and 8 right now, and they probably going through the trauma that's going to lead them to being like these other, because they start at 11, 12. They start at 11, 12 and be out there with it all the way. So maybe, I don't know, I would propose that if we could pinpoint that as a problem, we should let some of our brothers know that that's one of the problems and address it appropriately. Set up think tanks and all kind of stuff to address that appropriately. But I could just say a simple answer is make sure they got fathers in the house. But then see, that start being problematic when you say the simple answer. Make sure the future generations got fathers in the house. Combat this you can live without a man thing, because you might be raising a young man and he gonna go out into society and be convinced that his life might be over by 25. So if you put me under the full impression that my life was gonna be over at 25 or I'm gonna be in jail and I'm 21, I might go ham too. Wouldn't care about none of that. I ain't got much to say about that, but I think that is kind of like the problem. We got people convinced that their life is not valuable, right? And they don't got a future. There you have it. That experiment should be over by now. They should stop that one because we already see what'll happen. You feel me? Basically. I'm trying to rush to the Kemet talk, huh? I've been trying to throw in some regular topics so I can hurry up and get to Kemet. Question for RI, is there a strong statistical correlation between single parent and the children? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not even talking about the children committing crimes, because that's not what I'm trying to pinpoint. I'm trying to pinpoint this new phenomenon of young men committing crimes and then providing the evidence that could get them convicted. That's a whole nother thing. Because a lot of people commit crimes and hide it. That's normal. You're right? That's what we know in society. Most people who commit crimes don't want you to know they committed them. The phenomenon is they're putting out their own evidence to get themselves caught. On video, like, look, yeah, I got a hat. Yeah, acting like saying a slang term is going to change it or something. I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. And so the question for AI probably know about these how many dead rappers that from this what do you call it, drill? I don't know. But I ain't about to go too further with that. That's something that we could do whenever we could do it. You know? I was over here looking at, I was in the TLA. I don't know why though. I really didn't have no reason to be there. I was just looking through the text corpus, like going over some old stuff. I ain't looking for nothing new. If I stumble upon new things when doing research, but it's been so many years of people acting like stuff wasn't what it is that I still don't think we ain't made it to the mainstream. You know, we be thinking you won a war, it'd be like 1,000 people that know. So it's really still a lot of work to be done. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. What's up with art taken for granted? Let me go into my Canva real quick. See what I can get popping as I go into the Canva. But before I go there, I'm clicking on the cryptocurrency tab, and I see Bitcoin is over 100,000. So it started going up 3 or 4 days ago when everybody started talking about the tariffs. Man, they doing so much juking, it's ridiculous. So I'm looking for. And I hope some new people get to come into the show today. Because a lot of this information, my people know. I still got work to do on this. I'll show it. It's that Syria. I ain't even gonna go there right now, though. So I'll talk about that for hella long. I'm just gonna pull up a few old presentations. Oh, you know what I found the other day? Oh, it might make me laugh. Let's have some fun. I'm about to open up some files. Because I tucked these files in the cut. And then I was looking for them and I guess I couldn't find them. Then I looked the other day and I found them. No, this ain't it. Oh, so maybe. See, it'd be okay. My computer, sometimes the drive don't be open. And if I go look for stuff, a drive don't be opening up. All right, there we go. See, it just opened up. As soon as I said that. Let me go in here. All right, yeah. I seen hella videos. Let's start with this one. But I had other ones on her. But let's start with this one. Let me see. Oh, I guess it's trying to find it because it's coming off the other drive. So hold on. See how long it takes.
As far as a name, an ancient Egyptian having a name, Kem, and it happened not infrequently that the ancient Egyptians would have either a name or a nickname. More commonly, I think, a nickname, Kem. So, like, there's a guy like Pepi Ankh. His name is Pepi Ankh. The pharaoh, may the pharaoh Pepi live. It's the name itself is a reference to the king, and may actually have not been his original name. It might be a name that he adopted as a priest of a dead king, or as a government functionary under a living king. But so he would have that name Pepi Ankh, and then at the end it's Kem, the black.
So a few years ago, some dudes tried to pay Egyptologists to debunk me, and it turned out so bad for them. This is one of the clips from it. Yeah. Pan-African James say, man, we stomped out the local jokes and the mainstream don't want to touch the topic because they know we on their head. Now, here's the thing. Somebody's going to bring the topic back into the forefront like it happens every once in a year, and we just got to be prepared for that. The next Egypt movie or something like that, when they disrespect, we just got to be ready. And Alferez Knox says, China agrees to open up their market to more American products. They made a deal. Yeah, whatever. You must be on Trump's side. He didn't have no deal. He started the issue, put it up to 145,000. Should start running. The whole world start tripping. Then he get lower it back. But I feel you though. Cool, they made a deal. What's up, Sir Ron? So when these gentlemen contacted this professor, Dr. Maggie Bryson, and it was like, there's this guy on YouTube, and he be saying the Egyptians called themselves black. Here's a clip from his video. Here's his stuff. I want to take that expression off her face. I don't think she'd appreciate that. So here's his video, and here's his stuff. And they was like, it was me. Since they couldn't find nobody else, they was like, can you please debunk this gentleman? He keeps saying the ancient Egyptians called themselves black. I'm like, what's the ancient Egyptians calling themselves black? They called themselves Kim, and Kim was a physical description of themselves. That's a good question. We'll talk about that. Somebody asked, how did the Bible get Kemet names right? What you're going to notice is they only got some names right. And that was by way of a few things. But we'll talk about that. I don't want to keep switching the subject. But we could get to that in a moment. And so she told them, no, he's right. The ancient Egyptians actually did call themselves black. And she was trying to be nice. But you should have seen them in their interview get their mask cracked. I don't know what TDS is, but shout out Jason. I hope TDS ain't bad. Maybe it's the dollar syndrome. Let me see. Kim the Black.
As far as a name, an ancient Egyptian having a name, Kem, and it happened not infrequently that the ancient Egyptians would have either a name or a nickname. More commonly, I think, a nickname, Kem. So, like, there's a guy like Pepi Ankh. His name is Pepi Ankh. The pharaoh, may the pharaoh Pepi live. It's the name itself is a reference to the king, and may actually have not been his original name. It might be a name that he adopted as a priest of a dead king, or as a government functionary under a living king. But so he would have that name Pepi Ankh, and then at the end it's Kem, the Black.
I wish I could pull a longer clip of that. But when she told them that, yeah, he called himself Pepi Ankh Kim the Black, they had nothing to say. That's all I ever said, right? I got hella videos in here, though. So let's just vibe out and see what some of these videos do. Somebody tried to challenge me on this, and then he just stopped talking about it. I think I made a video for him.
There's a lot of debate about whether the Hapiru, those mysterious groups mentioned in the Amarna letters, ever set foot in Egypt. But let's clear this up. There's no evidence to support that claim, and today I'm going to show you why. Let's start with the Amarna letters. A series of correspondences between Egypt's pharaohs and their vassals in Canaan. In TEA.
I can finish this video, but sometimes I'll see some novel, childish comments. Like the one put by SOT12 that says, smash, that is like saying thousands of Europeans with the last name Black means that it pertains to skin. You want to know why? If you thought that that was a wise comment when you read that he posted it, it just shows he don't know shit about Kemet. And if you do, what's the Kemetic last name? SOT12. What's the Kemetic last name? What's the Kemetic surname? That's some European shit. Or that's some other shit. Because Arabs have surnames and other cultures have surnames. Wasn't no surnames. And all of your names is a descriptor. Every essence of your name is a descriptor of your aura and your being in Kemet. This dude talking about a last name. So what was Tutankhamun's last name? No. What's Ramses' last name? Some of this shit be stupid. Just tell me what's Ramses' last name, and I will let you know.
Between Egypt's pharaohs and their vassals in Canaan. In TEA 73. Abdiashirta, a ruler in Canaan, tells the men of Amia to join the Hapiru. But this is strictly about events happening in Canaan. There's no mention of the Hapiru traveling to Egypt. It's a local issue, not an Egyptian one. Then there's EA 170, which talks about Aziru, a ruler accused of collaborating with the Hapiru. Yes, Aziru visited Egypt, but that doesn't mean the Hapiru came with him. Aziru was a political player negotiating with Pharaoh, not a leader marching Hapiru into Egypt. And let's be clear, Aziru himself isn't explicitly called a Hapiru in the Amarna texts. And what about EA 288, the letter from Abdi-Heba of Jerusalem? Some people claim it says the Hapiru took over Kush, but that's a complete misreading. The letter talks about Hapiru activity in Canaan, not in Kush or Egypt. There's no connection between the Hapiru and Egyptian land in this text. Now, what about the idea that the Medjay, a Nubian police force, supervised Hapiru during Ramses II's reign? There's zero evidence for that. The Medjay were stationed in Egypt to maintain order, not to manage foreign groups like the Hapiru. So what does this all mean? The Hapiru were active in regions like Canaan and Syria, but there's no solid evidence they ever entered Egypt. Claims otherwise are speculative or based on misreadings of ancient texts. If we're sticking to the facts, the Hapiru stayed outside Egypt's borders.
So when I made that video for somebody who tried to act like the Hapiru were in Egypt, he brought back some pseudo-ass sources that was like showing that one of the Hapiru sons was born somewhere. And I mean, he just brought back some sources, but basically, I ain't bashing the brother because he on a learning quest. But I'm just saying, I don't know about no sources with the Hapiru being in Egypt. And the question is, when they try to, I'm just looking through videos, we're going over various subjects. And the question with that is when they try to make the Hebrews the Hapiru, but the Hapiru had never stepped foot in Egypt. Let's watch one of these classic switch up videos. So after they went and talked to enough Egyptologists, then they start switching it up. No, remember when they bashed this sister right here?
We do know that based on migration patterns, that many West African populations are descendant of ancient Egyptian populations.
What'd she say?
We do know that based on migration patterns, that many West African populations are descendant of ancient Egyptian populations.
I gotta play that again.
We do know that based on migration patterns, that many West African populations are descendant of ancient Egyptian populations.
Did she say we do know that by migration patterns, many West African populations are descendants of ancient Egyptians? How y'all like that research? Shout out to the sister Dr. Gina Page. And continue your efforts in bringing forth the truth. You are appreciated. Right?
When back in the day when they was saying black, they was talking about Africans. Then all of a sudden, right, when they realized that Egypt was in Africa, then half of Africa was just black people. I remember that. They called it the dark continent, right? And in the midst of their racism, niggas came from the dark continent, nowhere else. Then when they got there and seen them great monuments and all that shit, rising and breasted in them, then all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? It was they ain't black no more. They half black. Oh, half of it, they put a line there and say, right there where Egypt style, oh, that's it. Everybody else is black, they not black.
Side 12, that's like saying, don't punch me in the stomach no more when we boxing. See, you motherfuckers take your L appropriately. You just trying to be a stick around, right? But you just admitted to me in so many ways that you took a L on Kemet when it comes down to the blackness of Kemet. Smash, can we have a topic about Kemet not concerned with color? You know what? Every other channel on YouTube that's talking about Egypt ain't concerned with color. So all you have to do is just go watch the History Channel. So that let me know y'all took a L and you would stick around. It took you and go get paid 62. Somebody, hey, if you don't got paid 62 in a minute, you getting blocked. Go get paid 62 with your lying ass.
Africa was just
talking
black.
about lying on sources. Go get paid 62, email it to me. You can screenshot it with your phone. Now let's listen to this joker.
When back in the day when they was saying black, they was talking about Africans. Then all of a sudden, right, when they realized that Egypt was in Africa, then half of Africa was just black people. I remember that. They called it the dark continent, right? And in the midst of their racism, niggas came from the dark continent, nowhere else. Then when they got there and seen them great monuments and all that shit, rising and breasted in them, then all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? It was they ain't black no more. They half black. Oh, half of it, they put a line there and say, right there where Egypt style, oh, that's it. Everybody else is black, they not black. So the conversation about they not black was really saying that they not African. That's why people confused, right? So black was really a synonymous with African, bro. So let's, for the standpoint of science, right? We'll just take the confusing term out of it, because when I say black, I actually mean African.
When I say black, I actually mean African. So that must mean when I say African, I actually mean black. When I say black, I mean African.
A hierarchy of race like that developed by Morton and Glidden and still deployed today by white supremacists cannot be sustained if not one but two great black civilizations arose in Africa at the dawn of history. It is therefore entirely appropriate and even necessary to confront constructions of race for Nubia and Egypt in the recent past and acknowledge both civilizations as African and black.
So did you face any of that type of backlash or harsh feedback from your stance on ancient Egypt?
So yes, but interestingly, I haven't received any harsh feedback from Egyptologists. When I go around and I give talks on this subject, the Egyptologists who've been in the audience of my talks are very receptive, and they think that this is really important work and that I need to keep forging ahead with it. But I have gotten negative feedback, especially over email from Egyptians. So it's an interesting conundrum where there are some Egyptians who will tell me, I mean, these are people I don't know who are just like finding out how to contact me and send me an email and say, what you're doing is wrong. The ancient Egyptian culture was not a black culture. Modern Egyptians are not black people. What you're doing is dangerous. You need to stop saying this, which of course, I'm not going to stop saying this. And I try to explain what my work is about. And I also try to explain, you see, our perspective in America on what black is different from a lot of the rest of the world. And so I try to explain our American context of that word. But yeah, I've definitely gotten some harsh feedback.
First off, the Egyptians, of course, were African, and we have evidence from Herodotus and other sources that Africans tended to be black, that they were a range of colors that would constitute black today, and they were actually, the Greek words that are used for them is black.
Now, don't misunderstand me. I am not saying that the ancient Egyptians were not black, as we Americans perceive it. They were. The way we define black, with mixed race one drop rule, the way we define black as a positive thing, the Egyptians were black.
So you're suggesting maybe these people migrated north?
Yes, or their culture did, and east to the Nile Valley, east and north.
East and north.
Yeah,
I see. So today in Egypt, the archaeologists often refer to, and I've been there, to connections between ancient Egyptian culture and the Sumerian culture and the Crete culture and the Persian culture. Yet when you visit Egypt, especially around Aswan in the southern part of the Nile, you see mostly black people.
Yes, yeah, and we know from the anthropological evidence that the people just predating the dynastic civilization in the Nabta Playa region were black African people.
I can sympathize with the impulse to
she was talking about me too.
To be very strident, to be very argumentative, to be very certain, to act very certain about the blackness of the ancient Egyptians, because for the longest time, the very longest time, there was this prevailing idea that black is Africa and Africa is less than, right? That no matter what happens, no matter how you cast it, anytime you fall on the wrong side of that dividing line between black and not black, even not between black and white, whatever's coming from that black side is going to be less than. And it took people being willing to challenge that orthodoxy, and sometimes in a very ill-informed way, right? Sometimes, it just took people coming up and going, I feel like this, and so I'm going to say it and make it right. And it turns out they actually were in some ways, right? Because Now we can look at Egypt and say the ancient Egyptians are an African civilization. These are people that, by and large, we probably would have looked at and thought, oh, these are black people.
When it comes to the 25th dynasty, a lot of people are going to commonly call them the Black Pharaohs. You see it online, you know, there's books written titled that, so on and so forth. Do you feel like that distinction has to be made? And how I ask that is, I've noticed online, a lot of people don't seem to think that for some reason you could be black and be Egyptian. And I've always kind of disagreed with that because I feel like even though the ancients weren't colorblind per se, I feel that you could be black and be Egyptian. Would you say that is correct?
Yes, I think so. For instance, as I told you before, this kind of, for instance, of Nubian warriors that were settled in Egypt. At some time, they were living a perfectly Egyptian life, and they collaborated with the Egyptians and so on. I don't know if you have in mind, for instance, it's the representation of people carrying a Colossus statue. And there are rows of people, of young people, young soldiers, something like that. And you find Nubians, Egyptians, Libyans, and so on. There was this kind of idea that the local rulers rule, in fact, over say, multicultural society, probably in which the military component was quite important. Military contingents made Nubians of people from Asia, from Libya, and so on. So I think it was perfectly normal that these people, they were black, so they married Egyptians, or inversely, Nubian women, they married Egyptians, and so on. I think there is some evidence, for instance, in the documents of the New Kingdom, of this kind of, of marriage between people from different geographical or cultural or ethnic roots. I think it was no problem at all. As I said before, they could reach very important positions in the kingdom. And for instance, in the late Bronze Age, it was quite normal that very high, Nubians, a very high local position, they built their wonderful and excellent tombs in Egyptian style. They reached important positions in the Egyptian administration, so on. So why not, when black people or people from Nubia, they became far out, well, they continue to represent themselves, sometimes with their very distinctive physical characteristics, and so on. It was, I think, no problem at all.
I've worked in prisons now for 18 years. That was my first time I'd been in a prison. And the teacher who picked me up at the stations, she said, well, you are looking at this as Africa. And I was like, well, yeah, of course I am. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, because she said that's how they, my students see it. And I said, well, how else would they see it? And I remember her looking slightly confused. And then the first sort of interaction I had with one of her students was he came in the room and he said, ancient Egypt is African. I went, yeah, of course. And I think he thought I hadn't heard him properly. And he said, I said it was like African, as in black African. And I'm like, yeah, and what's your point? And I think it was only really that after that experience that I thought, am I in some kind of bubble here or something? And so I started to actually look into the sort of background, really, the sort of, which we're starting to talk about it a little bit more in terms of colonial approaches, but still not directly the racism that Egyptology is founded upon. And at that point, it was almost like a sort of light bulb moment. I thought, well, why is this still the case when we, are we still stuck, 100 years sort of previously in this kind of racist ideology? Why is nobody challenging this? Because other disciplines had. So anthropology had looked very hard at itself in terms of looking at its colonial kind of past. It just seemed that Egyptology was kind of almost stuck there and it didn't really want to talk about it. So for me, it always was African. It was a bit of a shock to me when I actually started looking a bit deeper into this and then started having conversations with people and seeing how they responded to that.
I think that the further back in history you go, the blacker the Egyptians are. And by black, I don't merely mean dark skin, but also with other Negro characteristics.
You have spent much of your life studying the history of the ancient Egyptians.
Who were the ancient Egyptians? How did they look?
Voilà, les Égyptiens anciens ressemblaient à cette terre que vous voyez. Voici le premier roi de la terre. Toute
Here
la
you
terre.
have the first king of the earth, the very first. And the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians, looked like this man.
Cet homme a des traits, si vous voulez, plus, comme nous disons, vous m'aviez dit tout à l'heure de ne pas employer un terme, mais sur le plan scientifique, c'est un terme consacré. En tout cas, il a des traits de la race noire plus marqués que celles de presque tous ceux qui sont ici dans cette salle.
You can see that he has those traits that are associated with the black
feature.
Those features associated with the black race, which are even more pronounced than many of the people here. It was this man who unified the Nile Valley from Upper to Lower Egypt, and this was 3,300 years before Jesus Christ.
Je passe donc, ce que je vais dire avant de passer au suivant, c'est que vous allez le voir donc déjà d'après ses traits et les traits aussi des pharaons qui vont suivre.
You can see by his features and those of the pharaohs and kings that will follow it
que les anciens Égyptiens n'étaient pas des blancs qui seraient devenus progressivement noirs et en perdant leurs traits.
You can see that they were not a people that were started as whites and became progressively more black.
Mais qu'au départ, c'était des noirs authentiques qui, à la basse époque, vont se métisser avec des blancs.
They were instead a black people, an authentic black people, but which never ceased to be blacks.
Donc, attendez, je dis en un mot. Donc, vous voyez que les anciens Égyptiens étaient des noirs comme tous les autres naturels de l'Afrique, c'est tout.
You can see that the first the Egyptians were black men, like black men that you see in Africa now.
There you have it, by some of the foremost scholars on the subject in their times. He wasn't the foremost, he said the It'd be anything to hate, though. You feel me? I got a lot of good videos. I don't need to play them all at once. You know? So I guess they never went back and said that's some good research. Have you noticed all the discrediting people did that when everything we was talking about, when it got qualified, nobody came back and was like, okay, that's some good research. Like this little segment we go into right here, and it was in my latest book, Black Like Osiris. So people often talk about how the Greeks called Egyptians black. And when the topic resurged online, the newest bunch of detractors was like, that's only Herodotus. They was acting like it was one source, and then just like Sot 12, don't even give Sot 12 no light, James, until he come back with that source where he said Asar and them had more than two or three sources to Kemet with the N23 and N36 glyphs. He said it was on page 62 and he wasn't at his house, so he couldn't show it. Where you at now, Sot 12? Anyway, so you know he like on some bullshit, James. But anyway, we went and found more Greek descriptions of the Egyptians. And they wasn't speaking ancient Egyptian. So they wasn't saying the Egyptians was Kim. They wasn't saying the Egyptians was Kim. They were saying the Egyptians was Malagris or Melani, the root for melanin. You can't trip off that. Stop playing. The word at the root for the word melanin is the term that the Greeks used to call, a lot of the Greeks used to call ancient Egyptians. And they referred to the blackness. So now you can see why, after looking at a short presentation like this, now we can see why when Herodotus referred to the blackness of the ancient Egyptians, he did it by way of referencing something that everyone should know. Right? No, I don't agree to pay you. Why are you talking about $5,000? I told you about to get blocked, bro. All you got to do is show that you had something that you said you had and said that you would show by now. So all you got to do is show it. And I don't want to look at your comments no more, so either you can fall back or I'm just going to time you out. You feel me? Egyptians are not Arabs and are not Africans, despite the fact that Egypt is in Africa. That was Zahi Hawass. And so he clearly was just trying to say they ain't black. Because they're not Arabs and they're not Africans. Despite the fact that Egypt is in Africa. Well, he probably was trying to say more than they wasn't black. But now we can see why Herodotus, I'm going to take myself off the screen. Now we can see why Herodotus, when he referred to the blackness of the ancient Egyptians, he did it like referencing something that everybody knew. Because through what you'll see throughout a collection of these texts, Herodotus lived at an earlier time period than this writer, Lucian, right? But what you'll see after observing these various texts is it was common knowledge to them that the ancient Egyptians were Melagras or Melani or what have we. They was black. They were of the darkest hue. So when Lucian, the Greek writer, wrote about a young boy, describing a young Egyptian boy named Licinius, or Licinus, he said, the boy is not merely black. He has thick lips and his legs are too thin. His hair is worn in a plait behind, showing that he is not a free man. So the plait is what it said, showed that he wasn't a free man. But him being, he's not merely black, but he got thick lips and his legs is too thin. So his description of this young Egyptian wasn't just about him being black. It's also about his thick lips and his skinny legs, which is a trait of what some anthropologists used to call Nilotic Negroes. You probably could still Google that and get something on it. Not Nilotic Negroes. It was Aristotle who said too black a hue marks the coward as witnessed Egyptians and Ethiopians, and so does too white a complexion, as you may see from women. The complexion of courage is between the two. So basically, he said if you too black or you too white, you're going to be a coward. But the two blackness, he said, as you see, basically as you see with the as witnessed Egyptians and Ethiopians, is saying as you see with. Garfield even came out and brought a fake Greek scholar who said the word black really meant green. So the Egyptians was green. Two black, it really meant green like olive. Then they tried to take that to olive. Y'all see what Aristotle said? He wasn't even being kind about blackness. Yet when he was talking about it, he referenced the Egyptians, then the Ethiopians. Don't you think he would have referenced the Ethiopians, then the Egyptians? Because in your head, the Ethiopians is blacker than the Egyptians. In his head, they are not. You want to know why? Because he visited Egypt before the sword of Islam. Before even a lot of other incursions into Egypt. But just to be clear, since after 640 something, in the 640s, it was 10 years after 632, so about 642, that they ran up into Egypt, and it was Arabic all the way up until today. From 642 AD until today, Arabs have had control over Egypt. And in 1920, they said, let's stop calling ourselves Arab. Let me come on the screen. They think we don't know this type of shit. See, you be hearing that Egyptians just look. I could have went back to Zahi Hawass, where he was talking about Egyptians ain't Arabs and they're not black. I can show you where they made that up. What do I mean? There was a point in history where the people of Egypt, the modern people of Egypt, didn't say that. You believe that? Do you believe, that's what I said, olives are black. They be getting them other olives. Shit, olives be black. But anyway, do you believe that there was a modern group? Well, I don't even want to say there was a modern group. There was a point in time where the modern Egyptians did not say that they wasn't Arab and that they was related to the ancient Egyptians. It all was a marketing plan. It was one of the biggest marketing plans in history. Right? So let's go back to Zahir Hawass. This is what he said. Egyptians are not Arabs. Does anybody know when they started saying that? So think about this. No one ever in Egyptology, if you go look back to the earlier Egyptological works, they never proposed or even tried to act like the ancient Egyptians was Arabs. Find any old work from Gardner, Breasted, or any of those people who ever was like the ancient Egyptians was just some Arabs. So if you think about it, and then I'll go further to left. Find any ancient scholar I'm talking about Gardner, Breasted, all of these old Egyptologists, Erman, any of them. Faulkner asks, see if they ever said that the modern day people who was in Egypt were the ancient Egyptians. Right? No, it was before 1978. That's a good one though. I think it was in the 1920s, but I need to correct even myself because I didn't prepare for this. So I'm gonna show you the term to research. The term to research is Pharaonism. Now I'm going to click to this. It is the 1920s, I'm right. You know, bruh be right sometimes. Check it out. Pharaonism. Do we want to hear them say it? Pharaonism. Now this is it. And this is how you beat Hawass up. Read this. Pharaonism is an ideology particularly prominent in Egypt in the 1920s and the 1930s that emphasized the continuity of Egyptian national identity from ancient times to the modern era. So what does that mean? So here's the deal. And just because the ideology came out in the 20s, the reason why saying 1970s was very good, because it was in the 70s when somebody referenced back to the invention of this in the 1920s and said, that's what we should do. But first, let's be clear, and everybody needs to understand how this bust they ass out right here. Thank you. He said I needed that word for real. This bust their ass out. Let's understand what they're saying. Pharaonism, right? It's an ideology. It's an idea. Particularly prominent in Egypt in the 1920s and the 1930s that emphasized the continuity of of Egyptian national identity from ancient times to the modern era, often incorporating anti-colonial sentiment and drawing parallels between the ancient pharaohs and contemporary leaders. Now see, the person who thought of this tried to pop it off in the 1920s, but why didn't it work? Because Britain still had control of Egypt. The British, correct? Yes. And they didn't get to launch this idea because they didn't have no control. So it'd just be just like murmurs in the cut, but it ain't being placed in their official documentation or nothing because they didn't control that. The British did. Now, was it 1954? Somebody help me out. I know it's either 74, it might have been 74, but when did the British lose Egypt? It's either going to be 74 or 54. Oh, 56. Damn, I said, 54. Told you. Following the Anglo-Egyptian evacuation agreement in 1954. Man, your boy don't be tripping, Glad. Stop playing with me. The last British forces left Egypt in 56, but they lost it following the Anglo-Egyptian evacuation agreement of 1954. They agreed, they said, look, it's over in 54. Then in 56, they got up out of there. So now it took from 56 to the 70s till we get the new boy who said, you know what? We're going to go back with that Pharaonism shit from the 20s, and so we going to say we the ancient Egyptians. Us Arabs. Right? We just going to switch up. Because we not about to say we Arab no more. So, if you didn't get that, first of all, 1954 is right there, 1956 is right there, but let's go back. We also hit with that 1920s. I might need to go to the casino today. We also hit with that 1920s, right? So let me see. What it say? Because this is when they thought of Pharaonism. But here's the breakdown. Now, if y'all say my interpretation, 56 is right. I knew 54 was significant. But if y'all want to say that my interpretation of Pharaonism isn't really what it is, then read this in any other way. Pharaonism is an ideology particularly prominent in Egypt in the 1920s and 30s that emphasizes the continuity of ancient Egyptian national identity from ancient times to the modern era. So the ideology that emphasizes the continuity, continuation, the continuity of the Egyptian national identity. It didn't say continuation, it said continuity, because continuity implies a continuation by the content. And we got another con word in there. You see what I'm saying? Like continuity will be implied by the motifs. But the continuity of the ancient Egyptian national identity from ancient times to the modern era, often incorporating ancient anti-colonial sentiment and drawing parallels between ancient pharaohs and contemporary leaders. It essentially argues that Egypt has a unique, unbroken natural history. Now, when did they start arguing that? I'm teaching you, not teaching you it condescendingly. I'm showing you the shit right here. They didn't know we found this already? You know what made me find this? Because I started wondering why the Arabs stayed out of the argument of Egypt in historical documents. That was my research question. Meaning, when Reisner and Breasted and them was going into Egypt for the first time, getting them first artifacts in Petrie, they were buying the majority of them artifacts of people who lived there that didn't give a damn about them artifacts. They just had took over the land. So when Egyptology formed, the question of who were the race of the ancient Egyptians, never once, you will never ever show me no old book where they talking about some damn Arabs. Or you see, you keep on saying the Egyptians ain't Arabs. Then you fell for the Pharaonism. You fell for it. Because I'm sitting here showing you, now all you got to do is go read the literature and the documentation of Pharaonism. And what you're going to start reading is documents to be like, oh shit, that's next. Watch this. We are the ones who need to say that we are the ancient Egyptians, because if we say that we were the ancient Egyptians, we could do tourism saying that these are our ancestors. And so let's get up to the 70s. It was, what's his name? Hussein? Come on, man, I might hit with that too. Egypt. Hussein, Egypt. Nah, I must have messed that up. So in the 70s, it was Hussein, huh? No, he too early. In the 70s, damn. What's that name I'm trying to say? I said Hussein, but that ain't who I'm trying to think about. I put 74 in the 70s. Oh, Nasir. That's who I was trying to say. I said Hussein. Now let's look at Nasir and his views on Pharaonism. All right, what Nasirism? So let's think. He probably even took it further. Look, it says Gamal Abdel Nasser, the second president of Egypt, was a figure whose legacy is intertwined with the concept of Nasirism. While not explicitly a Pharaonist himself, his rule and ideology resonated with some elements of Pharaonism, particularly in terms of portraying himself as a strong, unifying leader for the. All right, I might need to go back one leader before him. Because he's the second. I need to know who the first. Who was the first? Anyway, when you get in on his paperwork in the 70s, you start to see that he was like, nah, man, let's do this. Was it Sadat? Because I said Hussein. I might have been trying to say Sadat. I don't want to mess nothing up and then go too far out of what I already know to be fact, because that could be an issue. And so some of the documentations on Pharaonism have that paper. It's in there. And I can show you a quick way to get to some just on Wiki. Right? It was in the, you could go right here and then come to the sources. But first, they're going to say, they'll tell you, if you read this too, I'm trying to see if they found, see? So if you read this document, what you're going to find out is that the Arabs have started to bust a pan-Arab movement. And to reject the pan-Arab movement, or I don't want to say to reject it, but in rejecting, I was going to look at some of these sources. To reject the pan-Arab movement, or in rejecting the pan-Arab movement, Pharaonism became more prominent, right? So we could even pinpoint, right? We could even pinpoint the time and hit. Here we go. We could even, now this is, y'all thought I made this up. We could even pinpoint the time in history, right, when they said we gonna start acting like we was the pharaohs. Now what we dealing with now is what we're fighting, and I'm about to show y'all it. And y'all act like, why I talk about this in all my spare time? I don't stream that much as I would like to. I wish I could talk about it every day. But now that my limited time, I'm talking about it more. Because the Egyptian government has reenacted Pharaonism in 2024 and 2025. And what they're doing is, on to 2025 like it's happening now. And what they're doing is paying government agents to get online to find people like myself and try to debunk us and make us look bad. But you know they got to stay away from the archers. They have to stay away from the archers because we make them look stupid every place we find them. Right? Because I think what they're doing now is probably trying to learn the ancient Egyptian language. Because the first people they sent out wasn't qualified to debate us. Y'all don't think I'm being pretentious or making this shit up. I'm about to read this shit, then you're going to feel stupid. Particularly that they stepped up, check this out. And then I want to look at what my man is sharing right there. Oh, another dynastic use of Winnie. Oh, I might have to look at that, bro. I don't know how you found that, bro. Ah, thank you, Yuri. Let me show this. Told you, bro, we got some researchers. Look at this. And telling me I'm tripping. Y'all love telling me I'm tripping. Then I show you something and you feel crunchy. First of all, look at that. Just take a look at that. All them brown faces you see on the ancient Egyptian walls, they want you to think this is what that represented. When none of these people, if you gave them a color crayon, would pick up the dark brown color crayon and draw themselves. They're going to grab yellow or tan or some shit. So why would the ancient Egyptians grab dark brown? But watch me scroll down from this official Egyptians' racial nationalism. Excuse me. Egypt's racial nationalism. Neo-Pharaonism. Neo just means new. As a tool of the state. Now that you know what Pharaonism is, it's saying that they are related to the ancient Egyptians. And we know what old Pharaonism is. It started in the 1920s. We're not dealing with that, me and you, brother Archer. You feel me, fellow Archer? We not dealing with that. What we dealing with? Neo-Pharaonism. And it's new. And guess what? It got agents, auxiliaries, and antennas, and extensions. So you might be getting hit with some neo-Pharaonism from a worthless ass black person. And you know that they always worthless. Like, fuck it, appraise a nigga. Start appraising niggas. The niggas who doing that is really worthless. Fuck it. Let me come on the screen. In this long life we've been living, motherfuckers done put up 50, 60 years, ain't got shit. So they just on YouTube trying to make something out themselves by slandering black people. Show me one of them motherfuckers even look like they doing good. Tell the truth. Let's keep it a buck. In a minute, motherfuckers gonna have to start showing some shit. Like, if you got this good ass advice and you leading people to the promised land and everything you say is right, turn the camera around in your dusty ass house. I'm just saying, that don't mean you right or you wrong, but tell me why everybody's slandering all on some busted up shit. Ain't nobody with no respect for themselves online. So those are people, look, those people are easily, see, this is why you can, let me talk to y'all. Now, I ain't talking about nothing. We ain't talking about finances or something or nothing. What we talking about is how easily one can be compromised. And just understand that you can't even have debt or a bad credit score and be like in the Secret Service. You can't have debt and all this shit you're not supposed to and be in the FBI. Why? It's because you can be compromised. So how do that got to make anything to do with this? Because the way you living do got something to do with what you willing to do, what you willing to say, and how low your ass will go in order to make something pop. Fuck out of here. Acting like I'm on some other shit. That shit is facts. Motherfucker be like, oh, you can't be on this hit squad this high up because you owe somebody 100,000. You're not getting this clearance because we gonna be carrying out millions. And you don't think your 100,000 don't pop in your head while your hand full with hella 20 million walking down the steps? Nope, you can't get on this team. That's how they act, that's how they move. So how is that relevant to us? It's the same shit. You can't be learning for no motherfucker who just out here trying to make a living on YouTube. They gonna just feed you anything. Just to keep it popping. Anyway, I really wasn't talking about that. What I was talking about is how they become agents of neo-Pharaonism because they are easily compromised. Because think about it, just like the self-snitcher will do dumb shit because they've been convinced that they ain't gonna live past 25, so then doing self-snitching becomes actually kind of wise. If you really want to look at this demented ass society we live in, if you've been convinced you ain't gonna live past 25, then you might as well go ham, and you probably ain't gonna get caught for 2-3 years, and the majority of your life you was getting millions. Robbing everybody and just doing hella dumb ham. So it's the same kind of mentality. They like them niggas they in the black community willing to do any disgraceful shit in order to get a YouTube check. Well, why they ain't took it nowhere where they ain't doing that? We didn't take it to the regular flat streets and say that shit. So they became agents of neo-Pharaonism because they was easily infiltrated by the state. What state? Y'all niggas are stupid, blood, motherfuckers. I don't care. Pardon my language. But look, as soon as they told y'all, first of all, go back to Farrakhan. When Farrakhan said, yo, use this information superhighway to your advantage until it's over, we should have peaked game and just tried to start using it however we could use it. But then in 2016, 2017, whatever year it was, when they told us that foreign governments is using the internet to, I don't want to say change what we think, to affect the democratic process in America. We should have peaked game. I definitely peaked game at that point. See, some of the things, even I'm an artist, right? And some of the shit that they try to make illegal, like you can't stream for them, you can't do all of this, that's actually military shit. Because we having cyber wars and shit through the computer. So if you know how to do shit like that, you too strong. You're not just a lemming. You're not just a person on the computer. You got some power. Meaning you could go into, because they giving out money. So if you could press a button on I don't have to go too far with that analogy. Y'all know how that works. So just in understanding this title was getting told to you, if neo-Pharaonism, if a new wave of saying that the modern Egyptians is connected to the ancient Egyptians is now a tool of the state in 2025, what would be their most prime platform to be on? It ain't even television. It's social media. It's social media. They probably put, how much money y'all think they put into making sure all the museum cardboard plaques lead back to them? That don't cost hella money. Then they're gonna produce a few fake ass movies with the Egyptians looking like them. You know how they, I mean, put yourself in their shoes. They're going to produce a few fake ass movies with the Egyptians looking like them too. But what else did the young man in the office step up and say? He was like, yo, we need to get on social media. Because there's so many people out here just talking about the Egyptians were black on social media that the state now devoted money to it. And I'm about to bust some of them fools out right here. Because we got some of their pages, bruh. Like, it's not a thing. And this is from the Tahrir Institute for Middle East Policy, bruh. Let me take myself off the screen so you know it's not a joke. And this ain't my first time showing this. 2.5 years separated the opening of the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization in April 2021 and the anticipated opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum in November 2023. The tale of two museums and their occupying grand spectacles is not simply about Egypt's effort to lure tourists back to the highlighted Pharaonic antiquities. Analyzing the Egyptian government's increased interest in Pharaonic legacy during the past 3 years reveals the state's deliberate promotion of a national discourse that encourages Pharaonic identity. They want their nation to start having conversations, a national discourse that encourages Pharaonic identity, politics. Now, hold on, let me slow down. It doesn't just encourage Pharaonic identity, but it encourages Pharaonic identity politics. God damn. And we be slow out here. See, the difference is they got a nation and they got they shit and they could put money towards stuff. We have to be individuals to put money towards this. So look, the person on their team, none of their people on their team could fuck with me. Let's just be clear. They don't got nothing for me. Anything they got for me is like gotta be completely illegal. They don't got no real shit for anybody who reached my level. They don't. They don't. You know how I know? Because I be hunting these motherfuckers online. Dude, I will go online and just go try to find all of the people who are negatively detracting against Black Egypt and start a normal, formal, integrity-based discourse. And what'll happen? By the time I get to beating the brakes off them, they just descend into name calling and throwing slurs as if they didn't even hire a good enough team of these people. You can find a lot of them on Agent X, Chief X. You can find a lot of them on his channel back in the day when he was trying to do something, right? They be in his chat talking about, I'm in Egypt now. I'm a North African now. I'm right here, right now. People like that guy who called himself Dr. Bonod. These people wasn't real people, y'all. Those was paid agents. Oh, I forgot to prove it. Damn. I was in the middle of proving it. So what we're proving is that half of these accounts that we be fighting been paid by the Egyptian government. And these Black dudes who hopped on that bandwagon was just like the worthless eaters, you know what I'm saying, who just was usable like a wind-up doll, like you wind up a little doll and you could use them for your cause and shit. Now look, a national discourse that encourages Pharaonic identity politics, or what some scholars call neo-Pharaonism. This article traces the two main phases of Egypt's recent racial nationalism while pointing out its racial underpinnings. It's racist, IST. Again, this is from the Tahrir Institute for Middle East Policy. its racist underpinnings. Between April 2021 and April 2023, the state was implicit in embracing the Pharaonic revivalism, banking mainly on mega spectacles and a wider range of media production. A wider range of media production. See, when I say we all got propaganda tools now, and we the only ones who don't want to use them militarily. We such consumers that we only want to use our propaganda tools capitalistically. So we've been taught to just get online and get an affiliate marketing program, show somebody a product you bought and give them the link and you're going to get your paper. When these people got nations and they like, nah, I got some paper for you. Here go your money. What I need you to do is sit at this damn computer and develop and produce media production. And produce media. Now, what type of media? Social. What type of media? I listen to words. Media production is producing media. What type of media? Let's talk about all the forms of media. MP3s, MP4s, and you already in the video. I mean, I left out hella shit. CDs, cassettes, albums, wax. Y'all think they making wax? No. Y'all think they making cassettes? No. MP3s? They probably got somebody like, yes, make some songs. But what are they making? Movies. They said that already earlier. And social media posts. That celebrates Pharaonism. If it's celebrating Pharaonism and it's a media production saying the modern Egyptians is the ancient Egyptians. We gotta learn words, bruh. Do they gotta say it out like I'm saying it? If they were saying it like I'm saying it, I wouldn't have nothing to do. Media production that celebrates Pharaonism. A more aggressive turn started from the second half of 2023. The state became more direct in articulating and enacting its neo-Pharaonic and anti-blackness. Now, god damn, you clowns. An anti-black policy, you guys. Policy. If you say this is black, you in trouble. Damn, y'all be thinking we didn't have them bombs over here? So when we be telling you the fix is in, they got these little fake ass agents online. They must all be in their early 20s and ain't studied enough and they can't debunk my argument. They gotta go do some new shit to debunk. So rock with my argument. Take it. Don't say nothing about me. Go take the goddamn argument and use it. Because they can't beat it. Bruh, let me just come on here. I know I don't get 100,000 views, but I get views. My video about ancient Egyptians calling themselves black got 30,000 views. Last when I looked, it was at 27,000. They seen that shit. They seen that. I put up an Instagram post, which was one of my videos. It got 100,000. It got 150,000 views in 4 days. Talk about this is why the ancient Egyptians is black. And the whole world was arguing on my post. It was like 7,000 comments. I had archers, because I couldn't keep up with it. It was certain archers in there fighting the people. But they got the break speed off them on that post. Like, it ain't too many posts where you see they get forced out of scholarship back into the name calling and shit. So why? The contributions that we give our community is based on the work of our esteemed elders. And then we put the spice on it. We brought it out. They didn't have internet. They didn't even have, you could go to the library and be a black man and not be risk getting hung and shit. And they were still doing the work. So when I say we put the spice on it, I'm talking about, bruh, now you can chat GPP shit. AI is stupid than the motherfucker. Only dummies use that shit. Like, I'm talking about, it's useful. You gotta know how to use it. Don't get it twisted. But if that's your source of something, all it's doing is a quick Google search, taking hella different sources and telling you something as if it's an ideology. But you got to know how to use AI. So the people, didn't the AI said this. Shout out to Abba, but the other day, I didn't want to make him feel too bad. He was using some AI, and that shit was crazy. Let me get back on the screen so y'all can see what the sources say. I didn't make this shit up. They don't like black people. What is anti-blackness? How could you eat? Let me tell y'all something. The Tahrir Institute for Middle East Policy is like not a black institution, bro. I want to say it's an Arab institution. I see the Arabic written up there, but it's not black. So we got the neo-pharaohs, the new pharaohs. They neo-pharaohs, they fake, right? We got them getting busted out by some other Arabs about them enacting neo-Pharaonism as a tool of the state, which encompasses what? An anti-blackness policy. And as you see here, it says, in many cases, asserting a neo-Pharaonic identity comes at the expense of an Arab or African one. Let's keep going. Neo-Pharaonism is an extreme form. Thank you, Laius. Thank you. It says, Neo-Pharaonism is an extreme form of nationalism that underscores the exceptionality of the Egyptian race and claims the contemporary Egyptians share the same genetic makeup as the ancient Egyptians. Didn't I tell y'all they made that up? Now, this is the crazy shit right here. We tell y'all they made the shit up, but then we show y'all. This ain't like the other shows. We show y'all they made the shit up because we open up their playbook and be like, look, this is what the play they said they're going to run. Sweep left, half back, toss left. They trying to run old school half back, toss left off the first Maddens, bruh. Just say it's us. Man, that's halfback toss left. Just say it's us. Because that's what they always do. Hold on. I'm going to let y'all read the whole thing. Now we all in a playbook. Now look, we looking at two different races, quote unquote, beef over this shit. And so they gonna bust their ass out. Because this ain't no black people talking. Neo-Pharaonism is an extreme form of nationalism that underscores the exceptionality of the Egyptian race and claims the contemporary Egyptians share the same genetic makeup as the ancient Egyptians. That is that Zahi Hawass shit. He a neo-pharaoh. He's on his neo-pharaonism. I gotta make the word adaptable so we can say it and bust these fools out. Neo-Pharaonic. Yeah, he's so neo-Pharaonic. In many cases, asserting a neo-Pharaonic identity comes at the expense of an Arab or African one. In retrospect, we can look at the grand spectacle of the Pharaoh's Golden Parade in April 2021 as a cornerstone of the racial nationalism. So they launched that shit 2021. They didn't know how prepared we was. They got so much studying to do. Bruh. Oh my God. This article was written by Hawass, or you talking? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think this article was written by Hawass, but it just says Time P contributor. Oh, you're talking about a different article. Something else. Anyway. It says, during the hour-long broadcast events, the Egyptian president witnessed the transfer of 22 pharaonic mummies from the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square to the nearby National Museum of Egyptian Civilization in Fustat. The parade was accompanied by multiple live and recorded performances, including chants in the ancient Egyptian language. Some historians analyze the spectacle as the erasure of any remaining revolutionary connotations still attached to the Tahrir Square and rebranding it as a grand stage for Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Analysts agree that this pharaonic revivalism, so now we can see, everything they've been trying to say is fueled by who? The state. All these little posts we've been seeing online with people trying to attack Kevin Hart and shit, that was the Egyptian state. But I want to get down. I'm not going to read the whole thing. First, check this out. It says, in Luxor and many elements of the parade, state-led initiatives to teach the ancient Egyptian language to children and youth, both in schools and in youth centers. So now we got to get on it. Because since 2021, they've been trying to teach the Medu Neter to ancient Egyptian kids so that in the next 20 years, they're going to be acting like that's a continuation. You feel me? Like in 50 years, they're going to be like, no, they've been speaking it. They've been speaking it. You see what I mean? Expansion the interests of the Pharaoh. So why are they doing this? Let's keep doing that. Here it goes. The social media account described with their mission, again, the social media account describes their mission as disseminating pharaonic identity, raising awareness about falsified history, and educating Egyptians about the true history of their ancestors. But hold on. We just seen when y'all made it up. We just got the documents on when y'all made this shit up. So how y'all on social media acting like it's the truth? Man, life is crazy. Truth is whatever lie you say 1,000 times. If they keep saying this, eventually it's going to be the truth. To somebody. It won't be the real truth, but it'll be in 5,000 books. So it'll be hard to convince someone it is not the truth. Now, y'all thought I made up that social media? They injected social media in there. So this is about getting on social media, going against black people. Let me show you that part. Anti-black. So you're going to get on what? Social media. And you're going to be what? You're going to be a neo-pharaoh and you're going to be anti-black. And what else you going to do? See, they show some of the accounts in this article. Here you go, right here. So these who I went and start beating the brakes off these dudes. The state's official celebration of Pharaonism Now, check out this, blood. They just did this shit on purpose. You're going to be like, wow, I thought it was a lie. Look, the state's official celebration of Pharaonism enables and amplifies previously muted racial nationalist voices. Multiple Facebook and Twitter accounts have sprung in the past 2 years. And they got them all right here. Look. With names like Egyptos, Kemet, the black soil. See how they put that there? This is the government page. Y'all thought these was real people? It wasn't nobody really walking around Egypt thinking that they was really attached to the damn ancient Egyptians. I don't know, Tim Norton, but if they were, you can find all that shit on other people's pages. And your shit look kind of real. You looking real like a white boy up in that chat. So if you got a problem, in that avatar, so don't have a problem with me talking about some black shit, no matter what it's about, and you looking like a white boy in your avatar. Like, you gotta come correct. That just ain't how, socially, that just ain't acceptable. You shouldn't have a problem with nothing black. You should just go to another channel. Or you feel like you learning and you getting some quality information. But don't, yes or no, y'all. Do Tim Norton look like a white boy in his avatar? Ain't nothing matter with being a white boy, but you popped up and just said, well, the ancient Egyptians doing anything else besides being black. Meaning that if you are a white boy, you want to hear me stop talking about them being black. See how that worked? So it ain't about you being white. I got a staff of white people, family. It's all good. But I'm telling you, this is how your inner cracker just get to coming out on the under. You feel me? Because you don't want a nigga talking about being black. You know what I mean? Don't trip. I'm a straight shooter, family. And that's just what I've seen. So if I'm wrong, you can correct me. If you wasn't a white dude with a problem about me talking about being black, then let me know. Anyway, let's keep it popping. Now, so they own Facebook and Twitter, right? And they have sprung in the past 2 years with names like Egyptos, Kemet, the black soil, Kemet. So what are they telling you? They're telling you that all of these accounts is fake and they government accounts. You might think you following Kemet. Let's click it. See? They on here just to make sure that now all of the pictures look like this and they anti-black. Not only that, Tim Norton, you heard them say that they had an anti-blackness policy and you still had a problem with me talking about that. That's a shame. But you know what? Let me just keep it a buck. A lot of people be trying to join in on that shit. A lot of people be trying to join in on that, like, that racist sentiment and support it however they can. If not directly, then indirectly. By getting me to stop talking about the opposite of it. You feel me? So pages like this is government supported, bro. The Knights of Kemet, all of this, that's what that is. And Kemet don't mean black no more. The word Kemet is an ancient Egyptian term meaning the black land, referring to the increased fertile soil after the flood inundation. The bios of these accounts describe their mission as a disseminating pharaonic identity, raising awareness about falsified history, and the educated Egyptians about their true history. See how they do that? Two hugely successful online campaigns brought these pages and groups into the light. A call to cancel the now let me show y'all. Two hugely successful online campaigns. Blood, listen to this. 2 hugely successful online campaigns brought these pages and groups to light. And guess what it was? A call to cancel an Afrocentric conference that was to be held in Aswan on February 2022. So this was the festival that Asarna was trying to be at. And it got canceled by these distractors, by these dudes who get online and they try to go against anything black. Right? They're getting paid by their government. Here I am free talking about it, and I still gotta fight off trolls and shit. And an even bigger Twitter campaign demanding the cancellation of the comedian Kevin Hart's stand-up comedy show in Cairo. So this right here made me juice that I had a team with me of archers, researchers, people with a similar mindset, because these is the target, bro. It's not you. It's not Brother Unc. It's not Garfield, dumbass, right? It's not Booger's banger. It ain't the Baltimore bully Booger banger. It's not him. It's these motherfuckers who we crush because the little $5 Negroes that they be buying to talk about what they want, to say the modern Egyptians, they ain't worth shit. They ain't really worth shit. Keep it a buck. They ain't gonna lead you nowhere good. I mean, you know, they worth entertainment. They got some entertainment, you know, like a jester, like a motherfucker tap dance in front of you, and then keep on bucking. They got that quality. You like to hear them talking shit. Just because we don't go to barbershops no more. So it's cool to just listen to a loud nigga. You know? Fuck it. But they ain't really giving you shit. Motherfuckers is, didn't one of them motherfuckers write a book on fucking evolution, bruh? Think about that. Think about how dumb you gotta be to write a book, a pamphlet on evolution in 2025. I'm on some real talk shit. I'm not on no other shit. I'm on some, man, let's talk like we outside. What? Who the fuck do that? That's like the dumbest shit to do in the world. It's like you don't got no content. You don't got nothing. What, did you add something to evolution? Did you add a new theory? Did you do some research that shows something new? You just talk about shit that's in a grade school book? Oh my God. That's gonna make me play a video on this motherfucker. Hold on. Woo! Golly. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So the first question I have for you, my brother Ngozi, Chief X recently did a presentation on my channel claiming that the ancient Egyptian people were not black. Do you agree or disagree with him?
No, I disagree. The Egyptians were black. No, I disagree. The Egyptians were black.
Final words is not the plight and not talking about damn Egyptians.
Y'all want to see a dead body?
If you got a Nubian cattle culture, pottery and all that shit that migrated from, and language that migrated from north of Egypt, like, what are you trying to say though? It tells you all that.
At what point did ancient Egyptian culture become distinct?
That's not the point we make. We saying that what it became what it came out of.
Nobody denied what it came out of.
That's
Nobody
normally how
denied what it
cultures
came out
survive.
of.
I know, but that's so it derived out of a nappy head group of motherfuckers. So it derived out of a nappy head group of motherfuckers. So it derived out of a nappy head group of motherfuckers. You ain't smoking weed as long as I did. Don't smoke crack as long as I did.
I know you don't smoke no more, family, but you were very high. trying to run up on Smash. The boys fought they fight, had an illiterate leader, that's why they thought they right. I know you ain't back fucking with cracks, but you was tripping saying Egyptians wasn't black, bro.
Okay, here we go. I can tell some problems right now. So
Yeah.
you said a few things that most people can't even put together in their mind. So I would like to say this. When you say to me that based off of American standards, I automatically say, well, that's colonizing standards. That was the standard set by colonizers and the racist white supremacists. They were very supremacist in their approach to racialize indigenous people and put their own tags on them. So that's the American standard. That am I wrong? Am I wrong in that? I want to make sure
You are not wrong.
Okay, so the museums, the curators say they're indigenous Africans to get away from that because we know we studied Charles Darwin, right? And he basically said that humans come from Africa first. He's one of the first people to report that, right? And he's basically saying that, you know, skin color can actually range. So we recognize this. And like you said, the patriarchy, I like the way you say that. The patriarchy, right? I like that. And so, but when you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that. But when you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that. When you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that.
I mean, like Smash, plain and simple, is a bona fide rap artist. He started him and his buddy started the Hyro crew. You know what I'm saying? Dedicated, you know what I'm saying, to studying the language, the glyphs. You know what I'm saying? When he comes to these serious, it's like qualified to challenge the curators. Qualified to challenge the curators. Qualified to challenge the curators. You know what I'm saying? In museums. All right?
Many months later.
When it was time to call your mother name, I did that. When it was time to call your mother name, I did that. I did that. Now all of a sudden when the experts come into play, oh, I agree with them. How? Then why would we have argued? Well, we weren't talking about race, but what the hell was we talking about? What is their stance? Do y'all know? Because if the stance is that the Egyptians call themselves black people, every single expert we brought said different. Every single expert they brought said different. They said no, they never called themselves that.
As far as a name, an ancient Egyptian having a name, Kem, and it happened not infrequently that the ancient Egyptians would have either a name or a nickname. More commonly, I think, a nickname, Kem. So, like, there's a guy like Pepi Ankh. His name is Pepi Ankh. The pharaoh, may the pharaoh Pepi live. It's the name itself is a reference to the king, and may actually have not been his original name. It might be a name that he adopted as a priest of a dead king, or as a government functionary under a living king. But so he would have that name Pepi Ankh, and then at the end it's Kem, the black.
What is their stance? Do y'all know? Because if the stance is that the Egyptians call themselves black people, every single expert we brought said different. Every single expert they brought said different. They said no. They never called themselves.
So he would have that name Pepi Ankh, and then at the end it's Kem, the black, the black, the black, the black.
The stance is that the Egyptians call themselves black people. Every single expert we brought said different.
He would have that name Pepi Ankh, and then at the end it's Kem, the black. The ancient Egyptians were big on nicknames. They were big on changing their names when they had a change in life circumstance, adding a name that reflected something about who they were as people. A man would have, or a woman might have a name, and then what they called a good name, a ren nefer, that we translate loosely as kind of a nickname.
But Sat-12 thought they had a last name. Up until this show today, Sat-12 thought the ancient Egyptians had a last name.
And so for a lot of people, Kem was their nickname, and it probably, or could have, possibly at least, referred to the fact that their skin and hair were darker than their average neighbor. Or their skin, probably. Most Egyptians seem to have black hair.
The stance is that the Egyptians call themselves black people. Every single expert we brought said different.
You could either say it's Ta-Kemi is short for Ta-Kemit. Again, so the black feminine and then we know it's clearly feminine there because we have the ta instead of a pa. So then Kemi would probably originally have had a feminine ending. But again, this is not Kemeti, but Kemet. So the black female one, as opposed to the one that belongs to that which is black.
As far as a name, an ancient Egyptian having a name, Kem, and it happened not infrequently that the ancient Egyptians would have either a name or a nickname. More commonly, I think, a nickname, Kem.
And then over here, this is how many times we found people calling themselves Kim on different stelae all over the place.
But it would have been a name that described some aspect of who they were.
When you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that.
Hold on. Kim would have been a name that describes some aspect of who they were. What does Kim mean? Black?
To that which is black.
As far as a name, an ancient Egyptian having a name, Kem, and it happened not infrequently that the ancient Egyptians would have either a name or a nickname. More commonly, I think, a nickname, Kem.
And then over here, this is how many times we found people calling themselves Kim on different stelae all over the place.
But it would have been a name that described some aspect of who they were.
When you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that. When you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that.
Don't misunderstand me. I am not saying that the ancient Egyptians were not black as we Americans perceive it. They were. The way we define black with mixed race one drop rule, the way we define black as a positive thing, the Egyptians were black. Not maybe all of them according to our definition, but certainly most of them. And if you go to modern day Egypt today and you go to a place like Luxor down in the south.
Man, this is sad watching this like a year later. They actually went to all these white Egyptologists trying to get them to tell them the ancient Egyptians wasn't black. And in their face, all of these white ladies was like, man, y'all tripping. What is y'all doing? Now imagine if you was one of these women. You would have had to been like, okay, I got this interview. Some guys from YouTube want to interview me about the Egyptians being black. So you're just getting ready to admit it, right? You in your head like, okay, I'm going to admit it. You didn't think you was going to be convincing the black dudes. Did you think that any of these ladies thought that the black dudes who was interviewing them was going to be like, the Egyptians ain't black? And they was going to be like, nah, I got to convince you of this. Like, look at how much convincing that these dudes don't even know what not infrequently means. They think not infrequently needs to be placed in Chat GPT. They'll be like, she said not infrequently. Put not infrequently in Chat GPT. Nah, put it in Chat GPT.
Infrequently, that the ancient Egyptians would have either a name or a nickname. More commonly, I think, a nickname, Kem.
And then over here, this is how many times we found people calling themselves Kim on different stelae all over the place.
But it would have been a name that described some aspect of who they were.
When you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that. When you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that.
Now, I like being childish and petty when it's in the streets,
Aspect
right?
of who
Look,
they were.
Watch this.
When you
He really earned that name Bobby Boogers from this shot right here, bro. Like, how you gonna do an interview with Kara Cooney and just have a big ass booger, bro? That's why she's looking away. Why y'all think she's looking away? That's the booger look away. Y'all ain't never seen the booger look away. People don't. So you trying to say if a chick in your face and she look away like that, you ain't gonna think you got a booger? Yes, it's the booger look away. So he earned that name, you know, it's nothing. Found people calling themselves Kim on different stelae all over the place.
But it would have been a name that described some aspect of who they were.
When you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that. When you make the point to say by American standards they black, I'm cool with that.
Don't misunderstand me. I am not saying that the ancient Egyptians were not black as we Americans perceive it. They were. The way we define black with mixed race one drop rule, the way we define black as a positive thing, the Egyptians were black. Not maybe all of them according to our definition, but certainly most of them. And if you go to modern day Egypt today and you go to a place like Luxor down in the south, you'll be like, these people are black in our definition, our American definition of what black is, Jamaican definition of what black is. Yes, they are.
But my stance has been very clear.
But when you make the point to say about American saying they black, I'm cool with that. Loser.
Basically trying to get an understanding of how do you...
All of these are scholars that they was trying to get to say ancient Egyptians wasn't black, bruh. It's the worst. This was the worst fail in the whole... Like you got in the YouTube streets and just start punching yourself in the face. So then they just said, okay, whoever just rock with me, you know, I'm just gonna go with them. I ain't going with the truth. I don't care about what people see the truth. I'm just gonna go with whoever still mess with me. But this was horrible right here. See, the reason, shout out to Rebecca Wang, she didn't do anything wrong. The way that they kind of hit her off, it kind of got her in a rigor, because obviously she has not looked at this, and she's trying to give them an explanation for why this doesn't say black people. But she's gonna fumble and bumble for a long ass time and never answer the questions. Watch this.
Basically trying to get an understanding of how do you, like, you see the glyph with the two people sitting and the three marks underneath, right? And like how would you how would you translate that in that script?
The last word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the three short strokes they represent basically plurality, because number 3 is a number of multitude plurality. So it's a marker to indicate a plural term.
And like, so when you read it in totality, how do you read it, like, in a sense, like the people of the black land, or?
Just read. So it will be, the noun will be pronounced Kemet. So Egyptians, the writing system have signs that present sound and signs that present meaning. So in this case, sound, Kemet, is represented by this sign. You can't see my cursor, but this little sign represents the scale of a crocodile. So it's represent a colored black, and the little half spherical.
Moon under there.
Yeah, that is a feminine marker, T. So Kemet, that represents, these two signs represent the sound of how to pronounce this word. And they're also the seated men and women, behind these sounds. They represent the meaning of this word. So you see that, words with these, ideograms, they represent groups of people. And
for all y'all can't think for yourself and read for yourself, while direct proof in the form of an explicit statement may be lacking.
I can't make this up. Did he even say read? Let's listen. Why y'all can't be for y'all? Listen.
They represent.
Let's see if you say read for real. I'm just saying, bro. I'm having fun. Look.
For all y'all can't think for yourself and read for yourself, while direct proof in the form of an...
You can't weed for yourself. That boy was thinking about some weed. You can't weed for yourself.
For yourself and read for yourself.
All y'all can't weed. He sound like Elmer. What's dude's name on the cartoon? Foghorn Leghorn.
Can't think for yourself and read for yourself. While
then his example of reading was horrible. Is this dude drunk? All y'all can't weed for yourself, and then tried to read and couldn't read.
all y'all can't think for yourself and read for yourself. While direct proof in the form of an explicit statement may be lacking, the cumulative evidence from the hieroglyphic inscriptions, linguistic analysis, cultural context, and symbolic meaning strongly supports the interpretation of Kemet as the black man in Egyptian texts. This interpretation is widely accepted within the field of Egyptology and proves an valuable insight into the ancient Egyptian geography, language, and culture.
But again, going back to now your question about whether we should translate Kemet as the land of Egypt, you're quite correct here in saying that there's nothing clearly in this word or in kind of attestations of this word to say the land of versus Egypt.
All right, hold on. This is what happened when you sleep on the black. That's what happened. I forgot. All right, I forgot. You know what happened? Cats start sleeping on the black man because they frauds. And they ain't really about it. Like, I'm about it. Like, I'm fucks with it. All they did was validated how I fucks with it. They ain't took nothing from me. Only thing they took from themselves was me. Now they just there with no scholars, nobody to even speak on the subject. Just let's just break it all the way down. Like, you just put my work in the face of so many people that I never could have got to peer review my work. Then I get in the front. Man, this is crazy. Y'all make yourself look bad, bro. Seriously.
Literally says is that which is black. What this literally says, going back to now your question about whether we should translate Kemet as the land of Egypt, you're quite correct here in saying that there's nothing clearly in this word or in kind of attestations of this word to say the land of versus Egypt. What this literally says is that which is black. What this literally says is that which is black.
Now, when the scholars and they've all came to a consensus of somewhat what you told me, then the question is, what is which black? You know what I'm saying? And it comes down to, again, the people of the story. So I'm going to leave the people thinking along a bit and try to see what scholars leaned on besides secondary sources to come to the conclusion that the blackness that this referred to was the Nile silt.
Every single expert we brought said different. Every single expert they brought said different. They said no.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the, unfortunately, I think one of the major conclusions or one of the major influences here is there is a racist element.
Got it.
But there's not one text that I can point you to that specifically says, by Kemet, we mean the black silt.
But then you got shot. Now you's a base head. You're all messed up, man. Your life is cracked.
Oh, look like stir-fried shit. I know that, man. Why don't hook me up with some food, man? Come on,
Look,
man.
there's a line. You gotta wait. Look, will you get this man something to eat, please?
Oh, yes.
I know you don't smoke no more, family, but trying to run up on Smash. The boys fought they fight, had an illiterate leader, that's why they thought they right. I know you ain't back fucking with cracks, but you was tripping saying Egyptians wasn't black, bruh. Got your mask cracked by Kara Cooney. She said they definitely were black, your face looked like you forgot to take your DoorDash order out of the backseat, you was very high. Bruh, they want to talk to Egyptologists. You show me a degree and don't show me what college it is. And even though you was a crack fiend, bruh, still know you was a black king, bruh. While I was rocking stages with my crew in 92, cause that's my occupation, bruh. You got arrested on the stump in Baltimore, hella this.
You don't smoke crack out there.
make me pull out this paperwork. If that's your hypothesis, nigga, make it work. And when you said 8 or 13%, you meant 8 out of 13 STRs, boy. Yeah, your mans went and messed that up. You're not a leader, boy, you never could compare my king. See that crown, boy, never could wear that thing. You want sources? Nigga, let me share my screen. Hey, Rue, you know I'm talking about Hori. He was high.
They don't smoke crackers long, I did.
All right, we back on the Smash Rockwell show. That was that good video editing work they had me putting in last year. One thing about that, them videos don't go nowhere. So you might feel different, you might not even be tripping, but hey, you get to get put up in the big lights, on the big screen. None of y'all shit last. All that shit y'all had is trash, nigga. All that shit was corny than the motherfucker. And it didn't even when you tried to get a nigga to edit the video, shit was looking bummy than a motherfucker. Only real solid nigga you had around was really like Smash anyway, nigga. Let's just keep it a buck. All them other niggas ain't worth shit. What they do? Anyway. Yeah. That's how we rap it. How y'all, where y'all at? I gotta start back studying. Oh, so we showed them, huh? We showed them that they was attacking what they call Afrocentrics and Afrocentrism. I didn't show them enough. They was mad at the Afrocentrics. So people want me to stop doing my thing? Man, shut up. What's up? What's up, family in the chat? I see you. Tyrell, what's up? Look, Afrocentrism is a blanket term that refers to a spectrum of political and scholarly current that spans from critical calls for centering African people and analyzing African histories and cultures to more populist, mythologized, notions of a unified Black Africa. They taking it a little bit far. That started in ancient Egypt. I mean, Afrocentrism doesn't encompass all that, but with the Egyptian context, Afrocentrism is usually invoked in the latter sense of the populist ideology and is always linked to conspiracies against Egypt and its civilization. In the wake of these campaigns, analysts, activists, and political commentators in Egypt started to note growing neo-Pharaonic sentiments, while warning against the racial and anti-Black dimensions of these relatively novel nationalist imaginaries. Killed them. They called it a novelist national imaginary. You saying that you was related to the ancient Egyptians, I gotta remember that. That is a relatively novel nationalist imaginary. Damn, when I hit him with that. Ha! So did I bite? It feels like I bit. I'm not going to write that over, but I'm going to repeat that. And being a hip-hop, it makes me feel like I'm biting. I know I ain't biting because I'm not. Oh, I can even say that in a rap because he's not a rapper. But if I wrote it in the book, that's plagiarized. That's what's called biting it. But if you say the statement at dinner, you just ripping it. That's how I feel, you know what I'm saying? That's a relatively novel nationalist imaginary. Somebody would spit out their water. Like, damn, we just cut you off. Let me see. Well, I mean, feel free to, that's why we read. So the reason why we read is so that we can add different ways of saying things to our own texture. We learn too, right? But I read to learn, but I more like be reading in order to like add linguistic prowess to my own, the way I talk. So sometimes I read a sentence like that, like he ripped it. I gotta remember that. Relatively novel nationalist imaginaries, and that's what they are. And even the references to Afrocentrism is one of those imaginaries. When he's talking about this unified Black Africa theory. That was just a romantic theory that's not really true, right? In her article, Professor Sohabayomi tries to illustrate the multiple voices within Afrocentrism, questioning the reasons behind adopting what she called Egyptocentrism over a more inclusive Pan-Africanism. A refugees' rights group published a commentary describing how these neo-Pharaonic pages fill their social media posts with hate speech and anti-refugee discourse. So notice that these social media reports that's government funded is trying to, I was trying to do that, art taking. He said smash is the Kemet glyph with the people in the TLA. Yeah, it's in the TLA and they failed to define it as one thing. But the most common definition you'll find for the Kemet glyph with the people is Egyptians. And that wouldn't make any sense. But they have to say Egyptians because they don't want to say it means anything about Kemet, because what does Kemet mean is going to go back to the blackness. And Asar and them tried to get around that for years, Ujahu and shit, try to act like it was strictly a toponym, but we didn't learn the term Kemet with no toponym. Peace to Sister Monica Lamb, thanks for popping in. So a refugees' rights group published a commentary describing how these neo-Pharaonic pages fill their social media posts with hate speech and anti-refugee discourse. Some writers drew connections between the growing popularity of the neo-Pharaonism as consequential to the state staging of mega events to glorify Pharaonic identity. So you can read this whole thing, but I didn't make it a black thing. They targeting black people, right? And they don't want to see no black people like me on social media saying anything about Kemet being black. So that'd be more reason to keep doing it, man. Come on now, stop playing. That don't be more reason to, come on, bro. If you bored, you like, what? Y'all don't like this? Oh, I'm about to get it popping. If you spitting the truth. Not just to be antagonistic or anything. But yeah. Did they have Kemet with the people glyph? Yeah, they got it in there. What else we say? Peace, power. What's up? Okay, I seen all them comments. I'm getting kind of tired. Because I've been bumping my guns. Who playing Whoop today? The Warriors play today? Oh, shucks. So I've been working on my RC cars. I was talking to my partner about this. This is one reason I got a pet peeve. You want to know one of my pet peeves? Having a garage full of shit that don't work. I don't like that, bro. Like it reminds me of the 70s or something. Some people must be back in the video at an earlier time. It reminds me of the 70s or something when there was just a room, a dysfunctional room. Like, we never had that in my house. We never had a garage like that. My father built an outhouse. But once I got grown, I used to start using my garage to put shit that don't work. At this age, that's the worst part about being a man. What I mean is, don't put no shit away that's broke and you're not gonna fix it right away, and you just because it's gonna just become trash. If it's broke and you set it to the side and you're not gonna fix it right away, it's gonna become trash, bro. That's just facts. You might get to it later if it got some value, but most often you forget how to fix it and shit. So I just be going through just my garage. I don't got no obsessive compulsive disorder, but I just was like, man, first of all, I got hella tools that ain't even organized. So if you ever try to fix shit, and the worst part about fixing things is trying to find the proper tool. And if I talk about doing stuff DIY, do it yourself, right? And if your tools ain't organized, the job gonna take 2 hours longer. So sometimes my neighbors would look like he's still messing around in that garage. Nah, because when I look at y'all shit, everything in y'all shit don't work. You got all kind of old shit. So now I just went through all my RC cars yesterday. Oh, I was so happy, bro. I picked them up one by one. Got that mug back on the counter. Went to the next one. I was like, oh yeah. And then people was looking like, oh, them ain't all broke. No, they just been sitting there for a year and you ain't never seen me play with them. But every time I touch one, down the street, put it back up. And I didn't even mess with no more. I got through like 4 of them. But then I said, now I got to go through some other stuff. Here's another pet peeve for me. Doing cardboard boxes is just extra old school crazy. But I started doing them, them bins and stuff from maybe Costco or wherever, got the bins where you can stack stuff on top. After about 6 months, you start forgetting what's in your bins. There you go again. I know this is a whole nother stream. I need to just talk about some grown-up shit. We can have some grown-up talk stream. I just was having fun and clowning. I know cats be clowning me every day on their show, calling me other names. So I said, let me go and have some fun and get back into it. But I ain't got no hard feelings for nobody, especially when they took an L the way they took it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm about to do some work on one of these jet skis. I wanted to go faster this summer. So what I know about working on them skis is you only need like 4 tools. You need like a 13, a 17. If you got a 13, a 17, and a couple more that I ain't remembering off my head, you can take apart a whole ski if it's made by Sea-Doo. But that's my fun I'm about to have. Anyway, I'm winding this stream down as we see. Tap in with my wife and my family. And I'll be back. I made all sorts of AI videos about the black. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, just hold that L. Ain't nobody tripping. You know. I'll make you hold that L forever. I'm kind of like 50. You're going to be Ja Rule like forever. Every time you pop your head out, you're going to have to wear that black jacket. Ancient Egyptians wasn't black jacket. Shea Butter salesman. All right, I'm up out of this joint. I'm up out of this thing, man. It's all love. I don't care how you get your issue, bro. Go on. Peace, people. Peace.